Our last member of the hall to speak is inspirational, motivational speaker, best known as co-founder and co-creator of the Chicken Soup for the Soul book series. Time magazine called the publishing phenomenon of the decade. Chicken Soup for the Soul books are one of the most successful publishing franchises in the world today, with more than 500 million books published. What is there more to say? It's been translated into 54 different languages. Mark and I have spoken over the last couple of years. Whenever you speak to Mark, it's such an incredible thing because he's such an intelligent man that loves people. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mark Victor Hansen.
Thank you, sir. I'm not having you clap for me, I'm having you clap for Mike. Give Mike one more round of applause if you would, please. And I'm having you clap for yourself, because what is better to clap for than happiness? Yes or yes? I like to start with a little bit of humor. Husband and wife are arguing about who should make the coffee. Husband says, everybody knows the wife makes the coffee. I said, no, the husband makes the coffee. The wife says, no, it is in the Bible. It is not in the Bible. Show me in the Bible. Hebrews. I'm honored to be here. I'm thankful for Mike Duffy and his family and his friends and his colleagues and all of you that contribute so much to making this happen, and all of my predecessors. I mean, Dolly Parton is one of those fun ones. She says, it costs a lot to look this tacky. It just is, you know. So I don't have that to say, but I've got a lot to say to you. Because, it's one of those things that you don't get to talk about, being happy. And I got to start, I'm going to go back through my parents, and I'm going to go through my education, because we're at what considered arguably one of the two finest educational institutions in America. I don't think any of you would disagree with that. And your other one is wherever you went. Oh, that's not what I was supposed to say. Remember, we're here to have fun. What are we here to have? Fun. Shake your neighbor's shoulder and say, you're here to be happy and have fun. Then I'd like to go through a quick story about how to be happily married. Then I want to go through a little bit of the law of attraction, what Jack and I did to sell more books than anybody, if that's of interest, and then what we're currently doing, which is creating the biggest change, because what my dear friend Deb just said is correct. We all are here to be change agent. Take your two fingers, jab yourself in the chest, that wakes up your subconscious, say, I'm here to be a change agent. Everyone, I'm here to be a change agent. And I'd say you ought to be positive change agent if you're going to have a choice, right? We all grew up in the same high school book, right? It's the best of times and the... So it's the best time to be happy. It's the worst of time to be unhappy. So, because happiness is a choice. You heard Mr. Duffy correctly say that. So everyone, if you're at choice, everyone say, I choose to be happy. If you had an ink pen, and I can see that a lot of you don't, what I do in my seminars, I have people take out an ink pen. If you got one real quick, take it and draw a smiley face on your neighbor's index finger with two little eyes and a nose. And then you're going to touch your neighbor's index finger right and then left and say, I see, you're going to be happy for the rest of your life. Everyone? It's silly, but you won't forget it. You'll go home and go, ay, ay, ay. Anyhow. So I was born into a Danish immigrant family. Parents were absolutely great. They taught us support, work ethics, all kinds of good stuff that we loved. My father, in about 1938 or 39, had his older brother, 14 years older, he was 16, come up to him and say, here's $100 and a passport. I created the little black band. We take all the Jews into Denmark. Hitler's got a $100,000 hit on me right now, little brother. You're out of here. You're going to America. Now, my father spoke no English, knew no one, arrives here and somehow made it, and with the trade of a little baker, and made sure he was a good provider. But he taught my brothers and me pride of ownership follows pride of earnership. You can have anything you earn, and you're going to earn your own way through school. And starting at 9 years old, I had to buy all my own clothes, buy my own bicycle and all the stuff that I ever wanted and pay my own way through school, which I thought was pretty cool because it taught me something that, I'm sorry, but we've got 5 kids and 6 grandkids, 6 one in a couple days. They don't get that same privilege. You know, Denzel Washington told my wife and I not long ago, my greatest gift in life was from my mother, poverty, because I had to earn it. And if you don't earn it, you can't have self-esteem from the top down, inside out. You can't have buoyant happiness. That's why a lot of the people that work really hard are exceedingly happy because they're contributing. If you don't, what did our friend, I'll talk about Mahatma Gandhi in a second. Martin Luther King said, every one of us can be great because we can serve greatly. A janitor can be a great janitor, which is what we've heard up here today, that the football player finally got it, right? That the guy or lady cleaning the stool at 5:30 in the morning, you know, could do a great job and make the place immaculate, make the place impeccable, make the place desirable to go to, and all of us have been to the opposite of that. So my parents were stellar, but they had low self-esteem, didn't know it. They're smart, but didn't know that. Would never go to a PTA meeting, so I fell in love with my kindergarten teacher. I said, Ms. Sneesby, when I get older, I'm going to marry you. She said, Marky, that's nice, but I'm happily married. I said, he'll die. I wasn't going to get that objection up. In high school, I had a great and inspiring teacher, John Reithart, who taught me the love of reading because we didn't have one book in our house. I see that as a crime, seeing as I'm a book addict, as you could imagine. But he got me to love books. His wife told me one time when I was over visiting with my younger brother that he'd have books in his ceiling that he could figure out how to put in shelving. You know, it's just a wonderful line. And then I read my hero Mark Twain say, when I die and go to heaven, I think happiness will be if there's a big enough library. Happiness is what you want it to be, just like Deb said about success. Each of us is going to have a little bit different definition, but obviously self-help action literature helped me get where I got to go, where I've been and where I'm going. So real quick, at 16 years old, I watched the Beatles on TV. This is like 1962, and I called my best little Scandinavian buddy, Gary Youngberg, and I said, we're starting a rock group. He said, what do you play? Nothing. What do you play? Nothing. He said, what makes you qualified? I said, look at Ringo. Now the truth is, Ringo's a great percussionist. But within 2 weeks, we'd learned 50 songs, and we started making musician wage of $17 an hour back then, and then I started booking my own groups and big gigs. And we charged $5 each, and we took half and gave the YMCA half, and I'd be making $5,000 a night. Now, I'm not bragging about me. The take home is you don't have to have an education to be successful necessarily. Education isn't meaning to stuff in, it's meaning to draw out. Just like happiness is something that we draw out. If you look at the definition, education comes from educare. How do we draw out? So the take home here is you can draw out stuff. I get into a public university, first of 3 alma maters that I fell in love with. I just adored this place. But suddenly they said you could go to study in India, which she has already alluded to how much fun that is. And just had a wonderful time. And I will have, the stories are all a little bit long and bedraggled, but at the end of the trip, they'd said you're going to go into euphoria, you're going to go into trauma and hate yourself, and that you made this decision to go to a less developed country in 1968, and then you go into symbiosis where you'll get with the culture and love it, and we got to see every part of it. And nobody got to do, and there were no Yankees there then. Ram Dass was there at the same time we were there. Oh my God, it's very, very good, you know. Anyhow, so I come back and I'm doing a really good job academically, and my physiology teacher, Alfred Richardson, everybody at the time at 65 got fired at Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, and our university president, Dr. Dwight Morris, was so smart, he hired all of them at 65. He said, they're just getting good. Alfred said, hey, Mark, you're skipping the rest of the class today in grad school. You're going with me to hear the smartest guy on the planet. I said, really? That's you, Al? He said, no, it's another guy working with NASA and me, Bucky Fuller, Einstein's best student. How many of you know who Buckminster Fuller was? I watched this little diminutive man Comes up on stage, 5,000 kids. I'd sit in the front row where you're sitting, had no idea who he was. He said, we're going to talk about cosmogony, cosmology, epistemology, cartography, synergetic, energetic geometry. He did 10 words I'd never heard, and I had a 4-point, and I thought, whoa. Because all of us get sophomoric. We think we know something because we know our little itty-bitty bandwidth of the world. I went and begged to work for him and spent 7 years traveling around. Here's what he taught me, though, to be happy. When he wanted to kill himself after his daughter died, he's at the end of Lake Michigan ready to jump in. And yes, he'd been at Harvard and all that good stuff, had 15 doctorates, had written books already, and just done amazing stuff. Then Einstein's guy who I'm inspired to tell a story. Are you asking a question or just stretching? You're just stretching. Okay. I have a tendency to talk too fast. I thought maybe, slow down. I don't know. It's out of enthusiasm to share all this great stuff in a very short time with you. Anyhow, Bucky said, look, we now for the first time, you're born geniuses and you get de-genius. That'll make you happy to start to think. Everyone touch yourself, say, I'm a genius. Take your finger, point at your third eye and say, I got a genius in here. And by the way, from now on, you got permission. If you don't believe you got permission to use it, believe that I believe you do it, and then you got two of us agreeing. Isn't that cool? Bucky said, we just get unplugged going through life. And he said, look, for the first time in history, we have enough abundance so we can make the world work for 100% of humanity. Now, the contemporary Bucky is Dr. Peter Diamandis, the MIT engineer, Harvard MD, the guy who started the X Prize, and a guy who's written a book called Abundance, and a guy who's written a book called Bold, and a friend of mine, and also a Happiness Hall of Fame winner, I'm thankful to say. But for the first time, we can have fundamental abundance for total humanity, which I'll talk about in a second from one of the companies we own. So then Jack and I get together. Both of us happen to be talking down in San Diego at the Mandala Association. And I get done talking, load up my stuff, finish signing books, and Jack says, I'm Dr. Jack Canfield. Do you know me? And I said, I do. I listened to your lecture earlier this morning. You're wonderful. And he said, can I take you to lunch? We became great friends. And then, long story very short, we decided to do a book. We'd both sold a lot of books. I'd sold 376,000 books from a platform because no publisher would take me. So, but hell, I'll sell them myself. Made a lot of money. I thought, this is really a cool gig, man. Having fun talking, writing books that you want to write on stuff you want to write. And people are crazy enough to give you $10 each a book. First seminar I ever did, I sold, the first year I sold 20,000 books. They cost me $1 each, sold them for $20 each, made $200,000 basically gross in books. I thought, whoa, this is a lot better than real stuff. Real work. I like this better than everything I've done up until now. Anyhow, so I got really into it. Jack and I decided to write this book. 3 years we work on it. We go to, everybody turned us down. 144 publishers turned us down. I mean, Random House turned us, everybody, right? They were actually saying, hit the road, Jack. I said, look, it's all right if you don't like him, but I'm a nice guy. Jack's wonderful. Anyhow, so I wrote all the goals for us because that was my part of the job. And I said, look, in addition to writing books and finding stuff and learning how to market, I interviewed the best authors. I asked how to market, not how to write. I knew how to write, I thought. Anyhow, and I did okay with that. But, we learned how to market. And we said to the publisher that finally took us, and it was sort of almost a vanity press, but said, look, we'll sell 1.5 million in a year and a half. Then we're going to sell 5 million, and 10 million, and 15 million a year. And I'm going to become world's best-selling author. I mean, here's the principle. In the Bible, it says, write a thing, make it clear, it'll be established unto you. You can't get a goal unless you set a goal, so I teach set at least 101 goals, do it in 20 minutes, give yourself thought, command, and say, I'm going to make this snap. So we did 1.3 million the first year, then 5 million, hit all those goals, and then ultimately we're at $500 million. And then 2008, now I'm going to tell you about spiritual stuff next, but I'm sort of under the favor of God because we had this guy come, guy from here, one of the 4 guys who invented the internet, and it's not Al Gore. He politicized it. Anyhow, and that's not a knock. Al Gore was in Jack's Harvard class. Jack's older than me. But the guy said, we want to buy your brand. And I said, whoa, that's good. So long story short, we got a whole lot of money, and it was at exactly the right time. I can't tell you that it was because I'm the best salesman in the world or the best businessman. That's what happened. And in the next year, we went from 19,000 bookstores down to 400, which breaks my heart. Now, in the book business, just real quick, I've had some real successes. When New York Times wouldn't take us because they said, you are a multi-authored, published book. I said, look, I'm selling more than anyone else. I'm selling 20,000 a week, lady. That's more than anybody else. What do you mean you won't put us in New York? She said, you're a multi-author book. I said, you never take multi-author books? I never take multi-author books. I said, you're positive? Positive. I said, lady, you got the Bible. That's got 66 authors. Unless you count maps, then we'll call it 67. She said, boy, you're in next week. Then her publisher, who, whenever he said a book wouldn't make it, I knew it would make it. We did Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul because we had, Jack and I both had teenagers at the time. And, you know, he said, I got teenagers and they buy concert tickets, clothes, and you give them $50 to the mall and the mall makes it disappear. And they said, what happened to it? And said, the mall ate it, you know, with Pac-Man back then. I said, boy, these are going to sell. He said, they ain't going to sell. I'll do it, but it's a dumbass book and ain't going to work, you guys. Well, we sold 19 million the first year. So I thought, oh, pretty cool. This is good. This is good. And then I did a bunch of money books, and we did big money seminars like some of you that don't have money need to know it. You ought to read my 1 Minute Millionaire and also read Think, Grow Rich and all that. The success literature is there, but only 1% of us use it. It's like my hero is Andrew Carnegie, one of many heroes I got, but Andrew Carnegie did a mistake. He gave the library cards away free, so only 1% of us have a library card. It's free. He thought everybody would go because when he bought books, they were $300 each. And I want you to go to his two houses. The one in New York is at 95th and 5th Avenue. It's now the Smithsonian Institute, but when you walk in, the first thing it says is authors are the wealth of the world. Second thing says, no man or woman can get rich without enriching all others. Take your finger, point at your temples. Go, that's interesting. See, because some of you are saying, well, I'm poor, and you don't know how bad it is. You can't a poor person can't do any good for another poor person. That's only somebody that's rich can teach you how to get rich. You got to listen to somebody that really made a lot of money. And you live in a city of wealth here, those of you that live in this metropolis. When the gold rush, everybody came with gold fever. They made $300 million. That's all the gold we had in America then. The annual budget for San Francisco is $3 billion a year. The alumni of this prestigious institution earn $3 trillion. That's spelled with a T dollars a year. So there's plenty of wealth. If you can't make it yours, it's only one reason only. You haven't studied it and then decided to employ it. Apprehend it, comprehend it, and go out, take the self-initiative action and do it. There should be no one poor in America. Now some of you say, it's easy for you to be a pompous ass. Well, of course. But I'm also working with Dr. Ben Carson. My wife and I are working. We've been in Washington. We're changing it. He says we're no longer giving people public housing. We're getting them out of public housing for the first time in history. Number two, we're going to teach them all these values, and we're really helping with that. Number three is we're going to give them all energy, which is the last thing I'll talk about. So Jack and I did the books. We sold the company, and then I said, well, you know, Bucky nominated me a long time ago, and he said, make the world work. The first way to do it is you got to have energy. You got to triple the kilowatts per person to up the level of humanity. And now some of you, and he said, we'd run out of energy right now. And he said, in 2015, we're going to run out of energy, which is happening. We're having blackouts, brownouts, grayouts. We're having violent storms, like 4 hurricanes in the last 2 months. Now, some of you say, well, we don't do anything to cause that. Yes, we all do. We got to get rid of internal combustion engines. I just wrote a book called You Got an Electric Car in Your Future. We got to go to electric car, and we got to get off petrochemicals. It's going to be here for a decade. It got us here, but it was a self-starter engine. If you're going to be happy, we got to have air that we can breathe. Bucky taught me we got one biosphere. We all live in the same ocean of energy and energy and oxygen and happiness, but we got to clean it up because when we're in China all the time, little kids are dying of lung cancer because they got too much pollution. If you don't believe in global warming, believe that there's global pollution, and it's created by human beings. In 100 years, we've gone from 1 billion to 8 billion. It's like a serious amount of us are here. All you got to do is get in an LA traffic jam once, or New York traffic jam, or San Francisco traffic jam. Or if you go to Shanghai, they're 27-hour traffic jams. Oy vey. So we can change all that, and we created, Crystal and I started buying alternative energy companies, if you want to look at something cool and see the coolest energy that's ready to come, we have 248 cool devices at a company called naturalpowerconcepts.com. I'm not selling any of you. You're not my clients, but you'll see the stuff used. Our partners, Caterpillar, which is our biggest manufacturing company, the one that jumped the highest this last week in the stock market. So we're getting this stuff done. We're doing, you'd call them pop-up windmills. They're called folded blade turbines that go up and turn around. And we're doing in-stream augers so we can make the rivers do it. We're doing pulsating buoys 2 miles off the ocean so we have enough water in California. California is I love this place, but we got to get the water thing solved. The wars are going to be over water. And we got politicians that don't have a frigging clue. I'm sorry, I don't care what political party you're in. These guys, a lot of them are idiots. They don't know science, they don't know money, they don't know finance. And by the way, I'm supposed to not do political stuff. But the fact is, we've got pulsating buoys now that throw water through reverse osmosis. We have unlimited water, and it doesn't wreck the ocean. People say, well, you put too much salt in. No, that's what they did in Israel. That's what they do in Abu Dhabi, because they didn't think it through. So they got hundreds of thousands of tons of salt. The salt, if you leave it in the ocean, it just swishes back in and remixes. Doesn't hurt. Our CEO of our company is a fish doctor, an ichthyologist. So we're in the coolest time ever if you're awake. And the teacher, I don't know where you went, but we had one other teacher here too. You and I talked outside, and I love teachers. Anyhow, so we're in this very exciting time, and then the other company we own is Metamorphosis Energy, where we want to cause energy independence for everyone everywhere. And we're starting at the bottom and bringing it to the top. It just is really wonderfully cool because we're flatlining energy, because up until now, if you're with a utility, they're monopolistic, feudalistic, they control and they charge you whatever they want, and you've never had a choice. And remember, I said happiness is a choice. I want to have energy be a choice. Crystal and I believe the highest choice you make in the triangle is, first of all, you got to have great health. And my goal is to live to be 127 with options for renewal, because health makes me happy. So we both exercise an hour each and every day. I'm spinning again and I'm basically 70 years old. So, and I'm the oldest one in every class I attend. Anyhow, so, because old people think, well, you're not scamming off at 65. And I wrote a book with Art Linkletter. How many of you remember Art Linkletter? He did Kids Say the Darndest Things, People Are Funny, House Party. Was a wonderful guy, but he always asked kids the irascible question. He says, what do you want to be? And they all wanted to be a dog, a cat. One kid says, he's 5 years old, he says, what do you want to be? He says, I want to be an octopus. He said, why? He says, I'm little and they beat me up. When I go back to school on Monday, Mr. Linkletter, I'm going to beat him up with my testicles. And he never got bleeped because the kid was just being innocent. He wasn't being dirty or naughty or anything else. So you and I are here to have fun, to have complete joy, to be passionately on purpose about yourself. You can't change, everything that you've heard tonight has been brilliant and great and correct. You can't change your genetics. You and I can't change our parents. What we can change is that 40% we heard tonight, the number I heard up here, and that is you decide in favor of you. Everyone touch yourself, say, I'm deciding in favor of me. Give your neighbor a high 10, right and left. Say, I see you deciding in favor of you. Final story, and I'll give it back to Mike. Little kid is so clear that he can catch the wise man not being wise, that he goes to the town wise man, goes to the top of the hill, gets with the guy and says to the wise man, is a bird in my hands alive or is he dead? The wise man, being truly wise, said, if I tell you that the bird is dead, you'll release him to his freedom. If I tell you the bird is alive, you'll crush him and show me that he's dead. The answer, young man, lies in your hands. The answer, after these great seminars tonight and all this stuff led by Mike and his wife, is in your hands. Thank you for being here, everybody. Thank you.